Welcome to KonKon's Cantina. Grab a drink, sit back, and relax.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy, it's KonKon, back at it again.
We broke.
Did you hear that? That is the ghost of Justin's past.
The $6 million man has returned in all of his bionic glory.
Justin is here with us today in the Cantina virtually, unfortunately, but we do have a goal. Justin is hoping to be back with us, two weeks. We have a special episode coming up with a local Disney blogger where we will actually be doing our first character study, which is going to be on Ahsoka Tano. And Justin,
can't miss that.
Yeah, can't miss that. Justin will. That's our goal, right? Hopefully here in the Cantina.
Yes, that's my goal, to hopefully have recovered enough, done enough PT that I can manage to have somebody drive me to the studio, because driving will definitely be out of the question.
Yeah.
But hopefully either Liz can bring me by and have my first in-studio episode again, since this whole ordeal has came upon me.
Justin is going to give us an update on a little bit of what happened and how he's doing now. Before he does, as you are seeing here on my screen, that for our audio listeners, I have a window browser open. Today, me and Justin are going to be tier list ranking every version of canon Disney Star Wars media. That includes the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the Mandalorian, Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance. Now, what isn't on here that I wish was on here is canon video game cutscenes. So I wish that they had, like, the Fallen Order storyline. I wish they had the Battlefront 2.
Lego stuff would be amazing.
The Lego stuff is pretty funny. I wish they had... There is more actual digital media that is canon that is not on this list. But I guess I understand why. That's kind of more of like a video game ranking list. But Justin, explain to everybody as much as you want how you're feeling and what happened.
Well, I guess I'll start with what happened, because, I mean, I know a lot of people know, but if you don't know, basically, while I was at work, I had an accident and Supermaned off a flight of stairs, a concrete flight of stairs, onto funny story. I have a video of me trying to Soldier Boy tell him with my broken arms.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'll have to post that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I basically Supermaned off of this concrete flight of stairs straight into the asphalt, never touched a stair, which I actually have a surveillance video of the entire accident happening, which I don't have the ability to do it, but maybe somebody can help me out. I want to turn it into a GIF and put parkour in big caps.
I may or may not have already uploaded it to TikTok with the oh no.
But yeah, it was pretty rough. It was probably about 7 foot. It wasn't super high, but it was high enough. And never touched a stair, and I landed and disintegrated my arms pretty much. So I've had surgery on my arms. I'm in the healing process now. My right arm, I broke the humerus, the radius, and the ulna, and in the doctor's words, the elbow itself was dust. There was nothing left. It's what they called a floating elbow.
Thanos snapped that elbow.
Yeah, it's gone. And then on my left arm, the same. I broke my humerus and my radius. Oh, actually, I should say on my right arm, the bone actually came through the skin, which isn't good.
Compound
because
fracture.
It's a huge risk of infection, which my right arm has been fighting an infection and not healing as good as my left arm. But my left arm, I snapped the actual head of the humerus off, so that's replaced with the metal one. And then I have in both arms a crap load of screws and plates. And then in the left arm, I also shredded and ripped apart the oh my god, now I can't think of the word. Not the tendon. Is it the tendons? The ligaments.
Yeah.
The tendons. The I can't remember now.
Things in your body.
So yeah, the left arm has to be in a brace right now because I'm not supposed to contract or extend anything under my own strength for risk of tearing what they reattached.
Mm-hmm.
And they only kept me in hard casts for like a week and a half after surgery. And I guess with joints, they like to get you out of the casts as soon as possible because they get stiff really quick. So my right arm is open, nothing, and my left arm is in a brace but no cast. And physical therapy is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, it's horrible. I've had accidents where I've had to do physical therapy, and it's torture.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah, no, it's not fun.
So yeah, I'm on a long road of recovery. Hopefully, in a couple months, I'll have relatively as close to normal as I can get use of my arms back. But right now, I mean, can't feed myself, can't get myself a drink. We installed a bidet so that my wife doesn't have to wipe my butt, which is a good thing.
Luckily, HK47 is also helping around the house a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty horrible.
It's been pretty horrible, you know. Guys,
I'm glad to be back doing something that I love.
Yes.
I'm confined to home and
stir crazy.
Yeah, absolutely stir crazy. I'm not the type of person that likes to sit around and do nothing. I'd rather be doing anything. I'd rather improvements that I'm slowly working towards. I can use my phone for the first time this week, which is at least something. Because for a while I couldn't even use my phone because my hands, everything was swollen up like a balloon. I had sausage fingers that I couldn't bend, but it's finally dissipated enough. I can use my phone enough to join in on the show remotely. So
yes, very, very
big plus.
Yes, thank you. I'm super excited. Hopefully everybody else is just as excited, and everybody's excited for the return of Justina's Cantina.
Yes.
Guys, of course, housekeeping very quickly. Merch. Guys, we got some shirts. Now, you know, podcasts.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
Months of teases.
We've talked about this for a long time, and you know, we understand, like, even as me as an avid podcast listener, like, I don't have a ton of podcast merch. So we didn't want the shirts to draw attention to the podcast. We wanted the shirts to speak for themselves. So I'm currently wearing our Rex shirt.
I love that shirt.
So you just saw it on camera there. Once again, we have like our logo on the front. It's very small. It's inconspicuous. You know, it's really about the designs on the back.
Left chest pocket area, you could call it.
Yep. Tri-blend shirts, very, very, very soft, very high quality. You can find the link to our merch in our Linktree, which is on all of our social media, which is at the following: KonKon's Cantina at Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you would like to join our Discord, you can also find the Discord invite link inside the Linktree link at all of our social medias. And if you would like to work with us and this podcast, please email us at konkonscantina@gmail.com. How you can support this podcast? Well, quite simply, you could buy a shirt. That would be awesome. Limited run on these. We do have some more shirts coming out, some more designs. Follow us on Instagram to see those designs before they come out. You can also support us on Patreon. $3 tier gives you access to all of our call-in lines and listen lines. Our Patreons have direct access in what they like to see on the show and ideas that they have for the show. And, of course, rating this podcast. The most simple and easiest way besides sharing and liking is leaving a 5-star review, guys. We read them on the show, and we very, very much appreciate it. This episode, we do have a new Patreon member, Benny G. Shout-outs to Benny. Thank you for subscribing. And we need to have a Patreon-only episode. We did have that Disney one where the I can't catch my breath right now. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm having a stroke. No. We had a lot of communication with the Patreon with the Disney one. We need to get that more. We need to have like a whole Patreon, have everybody join
some
in
interaction.
Discord. Yeah.
Yes.
Like we said, guys, the agenda of this episode is we are going to be ranking right here. You can see on screen. We are going to be ranking all of the Star Wars media. So we're going to establish a baseline real quick. Okay. Now to establish that baseline,
get your bandages ready because there's going to be a lot of butthurt people.
Oh, listen, this is going to be, I can't, because I'm going to post this list in Facebook. And then it's going to go everywhere that we make this list today. So how this is going to work is Justin cannot see my screen. We're going to be setting a baseline, as I said, and then from there we will be ranking each one individually. And kind of some of the criteria that I'm going off of is visual appearance. I'm not going to go based on sound because not all the movies have the same conductor. They're not all John Williams. I also am going to go basically character development. So those are my two big criteria. How does the movie look visually and character development? Because that is something that is different across every single Star Wars movie.
Definitely.
So once again, let's just get a baseline. Now, this could change, and once again, this is just to show you where we're at. Let's start off on a positive note. Original trilogy, okay? A New Hope, A tier. Empire Strikes Back.
So what's our like ranking, like best through worst? Is it like a letter scale? I'm assuming based off of that.
Yes. So we
like
have
A through what?
S tier it's the best. Can't be beat.
Okay.
Perfection. And then we have A tier, and then we have B tier, and then we have C tier, and then we have D tier. My criteria for D tier is I either couldn't get through it or I have no desire to rewatch it.
Okay.
Like, I'll rewatch it, or I've watched it, but I won't rewatch it, if that makes sense. That's literally my only criteria, because I don't think any Star Wars is like non-watchable or absolute garbage, but there is things that I won't rewatch, and that brings me to that point, which is Star Wars Resistance, D tier. Star Wars Resistance,
definitely D. Yes,
definitely D tier. I mean, I don't want to go into a whole. There's not much to explain. It's very very kiddie, very kiddie.
You know what? That's the only caveat I want to give Resistance. If you are like a 8 or 10-year-old kid, it's probably great. We're looking at this definitely as adult Star Wars fans.
Yes.
So I guess that is like a certain viewpoint that we're coming at this from.
True. And that's a great baseline to come from. And even if we see, when you put it that way, it is kind of hard to backtrack on that. But still, this has no rewatchability for me as a fan.
This is for us. We're in our 20s and 30s, adults Star Wars fans that have been in the game for a long time. We're not a 10-year-old kid. Yeah. So that's how we're gonna.
So once again,
I could see the appeal of Resistance for a kid.
Oh, 100%.
But for us, it's a D tier.
Yeah,
100%.
D tier. So if we go back up to the A tier, once again, we have A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Reasons for that. Okay. I think character development across all the main characters except Chewbacca.
Wait a second.
What?
We never went into the cantina.
We didn't. Do you want to go into the cantina?
Let's it's up to you.
Listen, man, you died and you came back to life, okay?
When I'm not there.
It's okay. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. A tier. Original trilogy. Now, notice I did not say nostalgia. Because if you go solely based on nostalgia, in my opinion, that's what makes a lot of people's ranking of the sequel trilogy go down, is because of nostalgia. So
they don't have it yet, yeah.
Well, they're so nostalgic for a storyline in particular, whatever the case may be. Personal opinion, obviously. This is all personal opinion, and can't wait to argue with y'all in the comments, because that's coming. That's the whole point of this, right? We're talking about it.
Yes. So what would you give a B?
All right, you want to go for a B right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious where you rank a B at.
Okay. So I'll do you one better. Okay. Because we already have a D, we need an S tier. I'm going to give you an S tier.
Okay. There's only one that I can think of. For me, that's
for you.
Perfection.
Okay. The Mandalorian is S tier.
That wasn't what I was thinking of, because I completely forgot about TV shows already.
The Mandalorian is S tier.
Yes, I give Mandalorian S tier. Yeah,
S tier, 100%. And once
visuals,
again,
storytelling, character development, everything is on point.
Yes, and it has an advantage, right? It's a TV show. It has more time to tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
S tier, 100% S tier, and I am including Mandalorian as a whole, even though this is only a season 1 poster. I'm including season 1 and 2 as a whole, the show. And as we talked about in our season 2 Mandalorian wrap up with English T, Travis Butler.
That's me. I'm Travis Baker.
You are Travis Butler. Both of you, Travis Baker and Butler. We talked about how that show felt like it had such a wrap up, and with everything that's going on with unconfirmed season 3 and all that stuff, I feel like that storyline is concluded at this point. Until proven otherwise, that storyline is concluded, because we're getting Book of Boba Fett first and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If we go from episode 1 to the season finale of season 2 with Luke taking away Grogu and everything, that isn't Gogurt, little Yoda. That is an S tier story. That is S tier Star Wars, 100%. Costuming.
I agree.
All of it.
I 100% agree. I got no arguments. Nothing against that. That sits at an S for me as well.
Second S tier.
I'm going to give you mine. When I said there's only one.
I've already moved something. So tell me what it is.
Okay. What I pitched in our ranking episode we did a few months ago, and it's Empire.
Yes, and I already moved Empire to S tier.
That's why we have a podcast.
See, Empire has always been. I don't want to say always been. I would say 70% of Star Wars fans will tell you that Empire is their favorite Star Wars movie. Would you agree that 70% would say that that's their favorite Star Wars movie?
I think there's a little more of a mix for people. I think some people have it big for New Hope. Some people have it big for Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely Empire is probably a little bit higher than most of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, like what I got into in our ranking episodes of the movies is I loved the character development in Empire. I loved the pacing, and I loved how it wasn't a happy story. Like the movie ends, in like not like a happily lived ever after ending. Like it left you like, holy crap. Like, what is going on? I need to know. It was perfectly written and executed for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we have character development of a love story that was kind of, I don't want to say unexpected, but we had the Darth Vader reveal, the father reveal. That's cinema history. That's one of the biggest reveals ever. The action, Boba Fett is in it, dude. The fight between Vader and Luke in Bespin is still one of my favorite Star Wars lightsaber fights.
Yep. Han being frozen in carbonite.
Yeah. C-3PO got destroyed in shambles. Like, everything was on a tightrope for that movie in particular.
To meet Yoda. Yoda was revealed, and that's the first time you see Yoda and Dagobah.
Yep.
You get to see actual... I mean, it's hard to look at this as if the only piece of Star Wars you had was A New Hope, and then you get this, because we look at it like we know so much about the Force and the powers and everything, but going back in time when you had only seen A New Hope and the only use of the Force that you ever saw was Ben and Vader's duel.
Yep.
You saw Ben teaching Luke with the blast visor to like deflect some laser blasts.
Yeah.
This is the first time you see the immense power that the Force actually was with the training sequences, with Yoda lifting up the X-Wing out of the swamp. Like, all of that stuff is like, that was the first time you actually knew really what could be done with the Force. That was all new information.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. That's amazing character and story development.
Let's go into the prequel trilogy. We're starting off with Phantom Menace. Very divisive. I know a lot of people who absolutely hate the prequels as much as they hate the sequels, which blows my mind, to be honest. I mean, there's so much of a basis to all of Star Wars that is told through these movies that's integral to the story.
I kind of feel like once the
totally mispronounced that word.
Once the sequel trilogy came out, a lot of people have reversed their opinions of the prequels, and they're pro-prequel.
Yes.
But until that came out, they were like the most hated thing ever. Then the sequel trilogy came out, and people are like, "Oh, they don't do it as good as they did in the prequels." Like, it's like whatever's the newest thing, they just like to hate.
So we have
What?
S tier, A tier, B tier, C, and D. I already have an idea of
Are we
where
starting with episode 1?
we are
first?
starting with episode 1. Where I already know where I'm going, so you tell me where you're going.
Okay. Let's say let's say it on the count of 3.
1,
1, 2, 3.
B tier. Yeah, 100%.
That's right.
B
and
tier.
that is why we have a podcast.
High five.
Again.
Woo! It is
I
B.
hurt my arm so bad.
It's B. It's B tier, and there's a couple of things that keep it from being A tier, because Phantom is my second favorite of the prequel trilogy, and the things that keep it from being an A tier for me, unfortunately, it sounds childish. It's all the crap that people complain about. I do feel that Jar Jar holds the movie back. I don't care what anybody says. You can whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel that Jar Jar holds the movie back.
Visuals, some of the CG is a little too CG, which
Yes.
I mean, for its time, it was groundbreaking, but
Yes.
I would have rather them just lean into the models and practical effects and stuff like the originals did that aged so amazing. They didn't need to put everything in CG.
I also feel like the introduction to the Galactic Trade Federation and that kind of stuff,
A little political.
I don't mind it being political. It's just, to me, that wasn't the type of politics that speak to me. You know, if it would have been like a struggle of power from two rival royal families, like reaching for power, like who's the true queen of Naboo? It's not Natalie Portman, it's this other person because of whatever. There's different types of political arenas, in the idea of intergalactic trade. Like, what am I in 6th grade social studies learning about the Silk Road? Like, I'm sorry, that just did not do it for me at all. But Beat is a great. I hate to see Phantom in the middle of the pack, but the introduction of Darth Maul. Remember, Darth Maul's like on the cover.
I would say let's run through like the amazingness of this movie. Like, Darth Maul, holy crap!
Yes.
Pod racing, holy crap!
Yes.
Probably my favorite Star Wars universe song ever created, "Duel of the Fates," was from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God, there's so much good in this movie.
Liam Neeson, in the last 2 years, has become my absolute favorite part of this movie. We need so much more Qui-Gon Jinn. It's not even funny.
Yes.
Like, and it stinks too, because I feel like we're so past Liam Neeson's prime. Like, Liam is really kind of starting to look rough. I don't want to see him CGI'd, but I do want you know what? I take that back. I would not mind seeing Qui-Gon Jinn in Force Ghost, where they could touch him up.
I was gonna say, like, what about like
in Kenobi and whatnot?
Hobbit?
Yeah,
Hobbit trilogy of Orlando Bloom de-aged style. Would you go for that? For
I
Liam Neeson?
think I would. But see, that's the thing. Like, honestly, Orlando Bloom still kind of looks like a 16-year-old.
Yeah, but if you have seen the Hobbit trilogy, he looks weird.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, well, he's put on weight. Yeah, he looks different. He's not the same age.
Yeah, if they did something like that, like where they're purposely, he's not even playing the same age.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know, man. The book, The Master and Apprentice, I can't even say that word right now. Master and Apprentice novel is amazing, because it's a new canon book.
Yes. That
kind of dives into more of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship, like from early Padawan, like him taking on Obi-Wan. It fed my desire for more, not Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and then only sparked it for wanting more.
Yeah. No, 100%.
I love it.
And this is where I fell in love with Natalie Portman, my one true love.
Oh, she's my one true love.
Dude.
We can share her.
Okay. Hey, no eye contact. Listen, I'm saying that when we're watching Star Wars, don't look at me.
True story. When I was not yet dating my current wife,
my wife.
I'll probably have another one later. I don't know why I said current.
God forbid she breaks her arms. It's over.
Oh God. But while I was dating her, or before I was dating her, I used to get her jealous by ranting on how hot and how in love I was with Natalie Portman.
God, dude. I mean,
and it used to this day, she gets pissed at Natalie Portman.
I'm not even.
Speaking of Natalie Portman, have you seen the pictures of Natalie Portman from the new Thor movie with her where she's ripped?
Yeah, dude. You know what? That's a whole nother podcast. We'll do a whole Natalie Portman episode, dude. Don't even fret about that. Let's move on to the next movie because we completely agree on Phantom Menace.
Okay, so are we going in sequence? Are we going to go episode 2 now?
We are going episode 2 now. Now this is where it gets hard because this is prime Natalie Portman for me. She has the best outfits in Attack of the Clones.
The Geonosis battle outfit.
Dude, okay, my favorite Natalie Portman Amidala costume is when she's at the Lars homestead and Anakin goes to find his mom and she has like anyway, she literally looks like what's the princess from Aladdin? Why can't I think of her? Jasmine. It literally looks like that costume. Okay, anyway, this isn't a Natalie Portman episode. Attack of the Clones is lower for me. It's cringy, and I don't blame Christian Haydenson nor Natalie Portman for a lot of the cringe in this movie. I blame it on George Lucas making absolutely everything in this movie except Naboo not being shot on set. Mm-hmm. Everything was in a CGI room. I can't imagine what it would be like to try to act through these scenes not on set. You have no surrounding. It's just a big green room with lights on you. Like that's where I feel like it fell short. And George has openly admitted he's not he's a writer. Like the aptitude to sit there and explain to people like how they should be acting or they're not getting the feeling he's trying to convey isn't one of his strong suits.
And I feel like for me personally, my least favorite thing about this movie is the dialogue between a lot of the characters is very cringy.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's kind of old man George Lucas trying to write his opinions and his sides of things and forcing it into there, or I don't know if it's maybe they can't portray the lines because of what you just said, being in a room of nothing, that they're acting to nothing. It's hard to say.
It felt to me like it was like almost he tried to be too Shakespearean, if that's the right terminology, especially like Anakin portraying his love to Padme. It's pretty cringy. A lot of the movie though, we see Yoda.
Great moments.
Yeah, great moments. We have the introduction to the clones, which I used to not be a Clones fan, and now I absolutely love the clones. I'm a huge fan of Phase 1 clones. They have those big giant rifles.
I love the Phase 1 clones. Yeah,
the T-visor, very reminiscent of Mandalorians, which we've got the Jango Fett, the chase scene in the beginning of the movie.
The chase scene with the shapeshifter alien
the
assassin.
Changeling. And I think he is a she.
Yeah.
Wow, that's not aging well in today's climate.
But I mean, this movie for me, it sits at almost a D. It's like a C-.
You know what, Justin? You know why we have a podcast together?
Same.
Because Attack of the Clones is C. It's not D. I will rewatch the movie. There's integral moments in the movie. We have a real shift, in my opinion, from Anakin to Vader. In fact, it's one of the first times that we hear, and I said that I didn't want to include music in this because George Williams hasn't done all Star Wars, but
John Williams, yeah.
What did I say? George?
You combine George Lucas and John Williams together for
George Williams. Hey, you know what? They're without the two, they're a dynamic duo. When we get that crazy violin when Anakin like gives into the dark side when his mom dies, like there's I see a change from Anakin to Vader in that movie. That's integral, and
some of the best quotes ever, like the men, the women, and the children too.
Not
like
just the
that's
men.
like
exactly. Yoda, not in his prime, but seeing Yoda use like straight up Ataru flipping around fighting Dooku, that was sick. I really like
that Yoda and Dooku fought in that movie sometimes.
And that's when we learn, a lot of canon fans first learned that Dooku was Yoda's apprentice too. That was his master. I mean, that just speaks to how powerful Dooku is, and we're going to get to the Clone Wars animated series.
One of the greatest duelists. Yeah, Dooku was like known as being one of the greatest duelists of the Jedi of that time.
I think we've said enough about Attack of the Clones. Really, it's the acting and the dialogue that kind of kills the movie. It definitely has its moments. It's
cringy.
something that we'll rewatch, and that's why we're giving it a C tier. Revenge of the Sith.
I think this is going to be the first one that you and I don't have the same rating on.
Okay. Now,
I'll throw that out there early.
Revenge of the Sith, for me, is pinnacle Star Wars. You know what? I'm not going to say that because pinnacle would mean S tier. So I'm already giving away a little bit of my ranking. It's not S tier. Mm-hmm. I have my tier. And the reason for that is we start seeing full circle character progression, right? Anakin has become Vader. Obi-Wan has really taken his side with the Jedi and allowed the Jedi mantra, the Jedi lifestyle, the Jedi cult religion, whatever you want to call it, to cloud his judgment. He's fallen into the same trap as all the other Jedi. He's not opened himself to Anakin. He was a mentor. He was not a father like he needed to be, like Qui-Gon would have. That kind of character development, yeah, it takes place over 3 movies, but this is where we get the circle meeting each other. Anakin versus Obi-Wan,
amazing,
is, in my opinion, the second best Star Wars lightsaber duel in Star Wars history.
It's an amazing scene.
So
I love it.
I'll tell you my ranking, and then you go into your explanation. Revenge of the Sith is A tier for me.
Okay.
So do you not agree?
I don't agree, but I can 100% see why you say that.
Okay.
For me, Revenge of the Sith is the first half of it is a C, and the second half of it is an A. So I'm going to give it a B.
Man, the first half of it is a C for you?
The first half of it still had a lot of, for me, a lot of the same problems that episode 2 fell victim to. A lot of very cringy dialogue and scenes and stuff that it's honestly some of it hard for me to get through. But the second half of the movie cleans up and is just so amazing, and like you said, like pinnacle Star Wars.
Let me make an argument for the first half of the movie for you. The introduction to that movie is the best Star Wars intro to date.
The introduction is amazing. The whole space battle scene,
the
is
war
amazing.
drums,
yes.
The war drums, the space battle, right? That's Star Wars, right? Literally a war in stars. Okay.
Yes, and we need more space battle. We need more space battle scenes in Star Wars. Period.
Yes, we do.
That is amazing. That's
let me
A/S tier scene.
Let's continue with the fight on Utapau with Obi-Wan versus Grievous. We see the clones in action, not just any clones. Obi-Wan's battalion. We see Cody. We see his clone. No, not 501st. That's the 332nd. Is Obi-Wan's battalion of clones? I think I'm saying that. No, I'm pretty sure it's 332nd. They're yellow. Just think of like the fight on Utapau. You got like that one clone commando who just like runs up and jumps up on the spider droid and just like shoots from like.
Yeah, I don't have see.
It doesn't do much for you.
No. The action is not what I have a problem with. It's everything that's not action in the first half of the movie.
Okay.
It's the dialogue and just the scenes where people are just talking to each other is weak for the first half.
I feel like all Star Wars fails there though.
Well, not all. But like I said, it's still a B, and it's a high B.
Okay, so
it's just
because you said C with some A and I said all A, let's agree on B.
I would say see, I'm adding I would say like a B, but I would personally call it like a high B, like a B plus, like nearly an A, but just those specific things can't let me tick it over to being a full A.
I got to go with the median, right? The median equation where, 1 plus, median,
like an average.
Yeah, I got to take the average, which is B. I personally still think this is A because I think that there's so much of this movie, there's so much weight that's carried by this movie. I mean, you have the whole Anakin Sith speech, peace, justice, security to my new empire.
Yeah.
Dude.
If I was looking at a list that somebody gave online and it was ranked as an A, I wouldn't be upset about the rank as an A.
Then I think we have to
Put
go
it
A.
that way. Let's go A.
Okay, there we go. See, I'm happy. This is why we have a podcast.
Yeah, like there's so much good, but
Yeah.
it's, to me, it just still fell victim to some of the bad dialogue and acting between
I mean,
actors.
I can see that. I mean, I just think that out of all, okay, the two most quotable prequels are no doubt Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith,
Oh, yeah.
I feel, is the most quotable, and Phantom Menace is just a complete meme show. Like, it has the best memes in pop culture, literally, like, to date. Let's move on. We have a we have a ranking. We could talk about that movie
Prequel
forever.
trilogy is completed.
Do you want to go sequel trilogy or do you want to go spin-off? And we're gonna save animated series for last.
Let's go sequel trilogy. That way we'll do the three big
Force
movies. The three
Awakens.
big sets.
Force Awakens.
Tricky.
Remember, you have to take a step back. You cannot include nostalgia. You cannot include how you felt about this movie after you walked out of the movie theater, before Last Jedi, before The Rise of Skywalker. You have to take this movie as it is, which is almost a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope, with some oohs and ahs added to it. With that being said, I do have a ranking for this movie. Do you have a ranking for this movie? Remember, we have S tier, we have A, we have B, we have C, and we have D. To refresh our listeners and yourself's memory, we are basing this off of visual effects and character development. Okay? We had to have some sort of a baseline. For our baseline, we included A tier being the original trilogy, and then we bumped Empire Strikes Back up to an S tier. For our,
Okay.
I already have mine.
I have mine.
I have mine too.
I have mine. I think I have mine, and it might be, I don't know if it's going to be the same as yours.
3, 2, 1, B tier.
A.
A tier.
Because of what you just specifically said. Yeah.
Okay, you go into your explanation, then I'll go into mine, and we have to meet in the middle. So you explain to me first.
Okay. So, taking a step back from it.
Before you answer this, how many times have you rewatched this movie? Because this is going to be a big basis for your argument for me. Because if you don't rewatch the okay, that's respectable. Okay, continue.
Okay. Visually, the movie is absolutely beautiful.
1000%.
Like, it's beautiful. It's perfection. It's the perfect combination of practical effects,
1000%.
special effects, CG, everything all mixed together. So
Yes.
I have nothing to knock it down on that
front.
Character development.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm still saying an A.
Okay.
At this point,
Mm-hmm.
every single one of these characters I was captivated by.
I would agree.
Completely captivated by
Poe,
Kylo, by Rey, by Finn, by Poe,
even
like,
BB-8.
Every single one of BB-8 stole the show for like the little quirk and comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The music's not one of them, but it was still another great John Williams score. Like,
we get the Rey theme for the first time.
I
love how I didn't include music, and we keep going back to music. I guess we have to include music. We get the Rey theme.
The whole desert scenes in the beginning with all of the Battle of Jakku, like wreckage everywhere is amazing. The discovery of with Maz and the discovery of Luke's lightsaber, like everything in that movie, if I'm looking at it, taking a step back, is freaking great. The only downside is, yes, like you said, scene for scene, in a lot of it, taking all of its character and storytelling from A New Hope. But it was hard for me to like fully lean into that when we're saying, like, if you look at it specifically from the angle that we're looking at it, I was like, man, from that angle, I wouldn't have given it an A before you worded it like that, and I kind of looked at it from that specific viewpoint.
Here's my rebuttal.
Like later, the other movies following kind of disintegrated the character development. But at this point in time, character development and what they suckered you in was like perfect.
Yes, my rebuttal, and I only have one rebuttal because I agree with everything you said. If we were to take this movie, and I'm gonna put it up there now. If we were to take this movie and we put it up to an A tier, that would mean that the story and the visual telling is absolutely on point, right? It's just on point with with Star Wars: A New Hope. For me, it goes down to a B because once again, it is the same plot points for A New Hope, and A New Hope did it first. So for me, I still hearken to the lost child on a desert planet, finds a mentor of old age, loses the mentor, finds out there's a villain. We later find out there's a connection to the villain. We have a blood connection in the first trilogy, and we have a love connection in the second trilogy. Yet again, still a connection. We have a big giant base that is powered by freaking kyber crystals that can destroy planets. It gets dropped down to a B because it was already done before. We have a new droid that's the comedic effect. Guess what? R2 and C-3PO already did that. We have Han Solo, the smuggler, the smug guy that everybody loves, the good-looking dude. Guess what? Dude still looks better to me, and he looks like he's 100. Because of that, it still goes down to a B. Because I feel like I've been told the story before.
It depends how much you want to lean into that, because the story is not an original story, period, in storytelling.
And I agree with that too.
Because it is a Star Wars story telling the same Star Wars story.
You know what?
That is one of my pet peeves also.
I've already decided. I talked you into letting Revenge be A. You're going to talk me into letting Force Awakens be A.
All right.
Is that it? You concur? Okay. Moving on to, without a doubt, the most divisive thing in all of Star Wars history. The Last Jedi. We've talked about this numerous times on the podcast. Star Wars fandom can still not stop talking about this. There are people who stalk Rian Johnson just to, I don't know, call him whatever. Find something better to do. Like, get a different hobby, for real. Rian Johnson is not your concern. Nor does he even, like, you know the scene where Wanda, like, attacks Thanos and she says, "You took everything from me," and then Thanos says, "I don't even know who you are."
I don't even know who you are.
That's you. And you know who you are. About to start naming names. I hated this movie when I saw it. I have never felt so dejected, but once again, we have to take nostalgia out of this. We have to go based on two things: storytelling, visual effects. This is the prettiest Star Wars movie ever made.
I agree. It actually had color in it.
This is the prettiest Star Wars movie ever made.
The Snoke's throne room fight scene was beautiful.
Say what you want about the choreography, but there's something that you say a lot, Justin, and I'm putting you on the spot. Poster-worthy shots. If you were to freeze frame multiple spots in this movie, beautiful. Say what you want about the Haldo maneuver, but her starfighter cutting through Snoke's ship, and we have all those black and whites in the stars in the hyperspace. Beautiful. The colors of the reds and the darks and the contrast between the blue lightsaber and Kylo's lightsaber in the throne room. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Canto Bight is like,
it's Vegas.
Las Vegas, yeah.
It's Vegas. It's the shore beaches of California. And then we have Crate, the salt flats, right? Utah.
Oh my God.
Utah, yeah. Nevada. And then we have the contrast of the red cutting through. Visual storytelling. This is S tier. Not overall. I'm not ranking this as S tier. I'm saying visually this is S tier.
Yes, I definitely would say the same.
Storytelling. Storytelling for me is a solid B. It's a solid B tier. I liked the introduction of Kylo seemingly being the villain of the overall story. I liked the idea of Rey actually being a nobody. I mean, that's what Star Wars is, right? Some kid on a little desert planet that's nobody and turns out to be something.
And this is an example of where this movie shined that the prequels failed, is the dialogue. Some of the dialogue
1000%.
Rey and Kylo when
Daisy
they were having
Ridley and Adam Driver.
The connections through the Force.
Yes.
Yeah, the connections through the Force. Like, if prequels could have had dialogue like that, they would be all A and S tier, probably. But
the acting was top notch.
This movie shined, yeah.
Acting top notch.
The writing and the acting in those scenes were amazing.
Kylo Driver. Adam Driver kills it in all three movies. My favorite scene with Kylo in this movie, is when he's talking to Rey the first time when they have the divergence through the Force, and she's talking about, you had a father, why did you kill him? And he, then she calls him a monster, and he says, I am a monster. Like, that was setting up a precipice for, like, Kylo being the villain, like Kylo being the Sith that he always wanted to be, finishing what Vader started, right? Like, Lost Boy, whatever you want to call it. Like, just those acting scenes, dude, Adam Driver is a really good actor. I mean, he sells it for me. With that being said, Rise of Skywalker.
See, for me,
go ahead.
For me, the story, it had some shining moments, but I still can't give it any higher than a C for the story.
I agree.
For the lack of continuity with kind of the way that they had written things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even getting into the whole Luke thing, because personally, that doesn't bother me as much as other parts of the story.
Yes.
But for me, like, the biggest thing that I was frustrated at was the whole Snoke is introduced and portrayed as being amazing, and then he's just immediately dead with no answers. Like, I feel like that was like a waste of a story plot point.
Yes, I would agree. I have my rank for this movie. Do you?
Okay. Yeah.
For me, this is a B.
I could see B. I'm going to go C just because I think it had the high points, but for me personally...
I can go there too. There's not lightsaber on lightsaber combat.
I wouldn't fight for it to be a C, and I wouldn't fight for it to be a B. It's kind of like resting in the middle of the two, where it could teeter either way if I start thinking about a positive or a negative more than the other.
You know what? This is funny. And to the point that we started with the baseline, right? We put D as non-rewatchability, right? That's not a word. We're not going to rewatch it, right? It's not rewatchable.
Mm-hmm.
You can hate The Last Jedi all you want.
I'll still rewatch it, yeah.
You're telling me that if you're scrolling through cable and, like, this is on TNT, you're going to change the channel? You're going to sit there and you're going to pout as the Star Wars fan that you are, and you're going to sit there and you're going to love hating every minute of it, and you're not going to change the channel. That's why it's a C, not a D.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right?
And I mean, and Ryan, that was like one of the things Ryan said, is he wanted it to be divisive. He wanted the people to love it, to absolutely love it, and the people to hate it, to love hating it. And he accomplished exactly what he wanted.
The thing is I still think that the precipice of where the story went with Rise of Skywalker perpetually changed how people still feel about this movie today. Because if you look at the Colin Trevorrow renderings of what his idea of the story was when he was still the director for Rise of Skywalker, they were based on what Ryan's story was. I liked Ryan's story, but JJ coming in with Rise of Skywalker has completely ruined Rise of Last Jedi for me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like, the idea of Kylo was the villain in The Last Jedi, and then all of a sudden, light switch, not the villain anymore.
I think,
you know what I mean?
And I think the bigger problem with this movie is there was too many cooks in the kitchen, and if you would have given Rian Johnson his own Star Wars movies, or even single movie that wasn't a Skywalker trilogy, nobody would have the same opinions. It would all be loved.
100% agree. You give Ryan his own trilogy that does not have legacy characters, and it's the best thing people have ever seen in Star Wars.
Exactly. I think that, because, I mean, his other movies, like Knives Out, is absolutely amazing.
He's an accomplished director.
Yeah, I think that it was too many people's preconceived ideas, and it was disjointed with the previous movie that it was continuing the story of.
Yes. I
think this was just too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, they all had their own ideas. They all had their unique spin on something, and it made for a broken up sequel trilogy as far as the storytelling went.
Yes. I agree. We'll leave it at C. I think that there is an argument for bringing it up to B, but just like the prior election, the entire Star Wars fandom is completely split 50%. Little political joke. And we're going to leave it at C tier. I totally get it. Rise of Skywalker. When I first saw Rise of Skywalker, I literally
have no idea. I have no idea what I'm going to rank this at until we talk about it.
When I first saw it, I really, really liked it. The more that I watched that movie, the more disjointed this movie gets for me than even The Last Jedi.
Yeah, because it was like they were trying to purposely contradict the choices made in the previous movie and air quote right the wrongs.
I will still watch this movie. It has rewatchability. For me, it's a C. It's a C. Plain and simple.
I think I'm in the same spot. Yeah. I think it's a C.
Character development. Listen, as Rural Farm Boy will say, thank you, Rural Farm Boy, for your continued support. This is not my story. This is their story. Mm-hmm. But I think that bringing in Palpatine again was a poor choice. I think that 100% it undermines Anakin as being the chosen one. Now, the way that you have Anakin continue to be the chosen one is, I don't know, having Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost come back Goku style and give Rey his power as a Force Ghost, because we literally saw in The Last Jedi, which, by the way, we've never seen before, a Force Ghost interact with the actual environment, which Yoda calling down freaking lightning. Shout-outs to Gandalf and Thor, who've done that in Lord of the Rings and Marvel. Crazy power, calling down pure lightning, the purest form of fire, Avatar: Last Airbender. We're pulling in all the pop culture. Something we've never seen before, yet, like, at the end, she says, like, I'm all the Jedi, and she just, like, puts two lightsabers together and kills Sidious. By the way, Justin, that's all they needed to kill Sidious in the first place.
A second lightsaber?
Yep, if all the Jedi Council members who showed up to kill him in the first place simply would have had a second lightsaber, don't worry, it would have been GG's in the chat. I can only go based on what I have on screen, right? Two lightsabers killed Sidious. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a rant, but seriously,
no,
like,
it's not. It makes sense though. Like, it's not like,
and that is not, and that is. Let me preface this. That is not a dig at anybody that would enjoy this movie and put this at S tier. This is once again is my opinion. This is Justin's opinion. This is rewatchable to us. This isn't D tier. We'll still watch this movie. I own it. I paid for it. I saw it in the movie theater like 4 times. I went opening night. Mm-hmm. Like, still enjoyed the movie. It's just I don't feel that the overarching story, because like you said earlier, too many cooks in the kitchen. Storytelling. And I think that, go ahead.
This is also another one where the new Star Wars fans who are getting roped into Star Wars from the sequel trilogy aren't going to have the same opinion, because they're going back and looking at the old movies after seeing these, and they're seeing all the tie-ins, whereas we're looking at this as we've got decades of Star Wars fandom behind us that we're like getting frustrated that they're making these choices. And I think that has a lot to do with where you would rank this movie.
Yeah. The lightsaber battle is horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, that was really one of the most
bad.
Disappointing. There was not a single amazing lightsaber battle in any of the sequel trilogy movies.
Yeah, look, I understand the argument that they weren't trained like Obi-Wan. They weren't trained like Anakin. They weren't trained like Qui-Gon. They're not from peak Sith, peak Jedi era. I get it. I don't care. This is a movie. I want to be entertained. And watching somebody swing around a lightsaber like they're holding a 2x4 is not entertaining.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, it looked like somebody just went to Walmart and bought their first bat for their kid for their Little League practice, and they're throwing softballs at them. That's what it looks like. And
so what's your letter ranking for this one?
I already have it at C. I forget you can't see it. Yeah, I already have it at C.
Okay, C. I would agree with C.
Yeah, it's at C. I do appreciate the Ben redemption arc, right, Kylo? But I feel like it was way too quick. I feel like that could have been expounded upon more, and it would have made more sense with, once again, kind of like a Hayden Christensen Force Ghost Anakin showing up and being like, you know, hey, bro.
Having a conversation with his grandson type of a thing.
Grandpappy here. I know what you were told about me is true, but I found my way back, and you need to find your way back. That being said, I do really, really like the Harrison Ford, Adam Driver scene where that's Kylo's memory, his conscience, talking to him. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Great acting. Great scene.
Yeah, again, the dialogue and the acting in the sequel trilogy as a whole is fantastic. It filled in all the lacking of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
It's like if they could have merged prequel trilogy and sequel trilogy together, they would have like A/S for everything.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think we've said all we need to say about this movie.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We'll go chronologically. Rogue One. Rogue One is amazing Star Wars to me. The only thing for me that literally keeps Rogue One from being S tier is that we will not see a continuation of that story because the main characters die, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, we're getting the Cassian Andor series, but that's like leading up to the point of I would absolutely love to see more Jyn Erso. I also think that the runtime of that movie holds it back. I think if that movie had more runtime where we could have gotten more CG Tarkin, we could have gotten more Imperial political and antics and more political, like kind of like chess play between Krennic and these other people that we get in the Catalyst book. I feel like this would propel the storytelling to a C. Or to a S, I'm sorry. For me, it is A. And I have said that Rogue One and Empire will kind of flip-flop back and forth for me between which is my favorite. But I've had Empire longer. I've watched it more. And if I had to pick between the two, I think I would still pick Empire over Rogue. So for me, Rogue is A tier. Justin, go ahead.
I'm going to pretty much agree with everything you said on that. It would sit in a strong A, very strong A.
Yeah.
And like you said, when the part of the movie that was the weaker part was just not enough backstory on all of these characters, and then you still, like, through the writing and the storytelling, you kind of fall in love with these characters, and then they're all immediately dead.
Yeah.
And that was, like, when I got out of the movie, I was like, I feel like I just got introduced to so much amazingness that now they're all gone and will have no continuation of.
Yeah.
But the novels have filled in some of those cracks. There's the Catalyst book, and then there's the Rebel Rising, I think was the other one.
Yeah. That
are all with Jyn Erso and her family and everything, which kind of filled out the story of at least the Ersos as a family.
Yeah.
And now we'll have Cassian filled out in the show.
Yeah.
I think it has the prospects of becoming an S, but I think right now it sits at an A.
The characters in that movie, to Jyn, Bodhi, Cassian, K2SO, it hit on every single nostalgia type status figure that we would want for Star Wars. Dude, and even Donnie Yen's character, like, and we had the amazing introduction the first time we're seeing like S-foils and attack position happen outside the space battle. We have the amazing space battle not only on the outside of the planet of Scarif. We literally had a surface. Yeah.
Scarif is possibly one of the most beautiful Star Wars environments and scenes of all any movies.
I'm really wanting
Scarif
to bump this
gorgeous.
Up to S tier.
Yeah, Scarif is beautiful. The introduction of the Death Trooper was absolutely like, what?
We've talked about this. We want like a Death Trooper Academy type thing, like a Star Wars story about Death Troopers. And what book was it? It was the Thrawn series, right?
Where they had the bodyguard.
Yeah, they had
was an out of armor Death Trooper.
Yes,
that was kind of giving you some history. Yeah,
they had two of them. They had two bodyguards that were Death Troopers. And dude, give me more Death Troopers. All right, A or S, dude. Because now that I'm
gonna give it a A.
Okay.
That could very easily be bumped into an S.
Okay,
with
I'll
Cassian.
agree.
If the Cassian show is amazing, like I think that could add points to the movie that you didn't know or didn't realize.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. All right, so we have that at A tier. Moving on to our last live action before we get into animated, Solo. Star Wars
movie.
Yes.
This needs more love.
This movie, dude, make Solo 2 happen. We just had a special segment go back. I believe it was episode 65. We just talked about why we need a Solo 2. I'm not going to try to convince people as to why this needs a second movie. If you don't understand why this needs a second movie, I don't know how to help you. This was a heist movie. It was a cowboy movie. It was everything that Star Wars was without the samurais, because we didn't have the Jedi aspect, right?
Yeah,
But it was a space cowboy movie.
Space cowboy heist movie.
It was a space cowboy heist movie.
Yeah.
Now, some of the things that I feel hold this movie back is I do believe that the movie's too predictable. Beckett betraying Solo, saw it coming a million.
You saw that coming.
You saw that coming. Yeah, you see him like walk through the door because Dryden Voss says, he has an assailant, and he just like walks through the door casually, like he's been waiting in that elevator for like 20 minutes. Like Dryden's like, "Hey, listen, Beckett, he's gonna come in. We're gonna play the bit, and then I'm gonna call you in." And then the doors open and you walk in, and we get all the hyper fuel, right? Like, this is still, I want to put this in an A, but until we get a continuation of the story, this is a B for me. Now, I have rewatched this movie the most, besides Rogue One, out of all new Star Wars Disney.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I have, because it was on Netflix for a really long time, and I loved putting Solo on in the background for noise. I think that Donald Glover does an absolutely amazing Lando. I almost like Donald Glover as Lando more than Billy D. Williams. I hate to say it, but seriously.
Well, if you got actual time of the character with him. I mean, Billy D. Williams was kind of very, like, he would deliver a couple lines and that was it.
True.
I think this got to, like, you actually kind of got to like Lando as a person.
Yeah.
And his hustle and lifestyle and everything.
Yes.
One of my problems with this story is this could be just me, but I perpetually never can remember what the heck the point or what they're trying to steal and what all the fuss is about.
They are trying to steal coaxium. Coaxium.
Yes, I know. Like, I realize that, but, like, that is, for me, like, it's such a weak and small point that I feel like everything else going on is what's important.
I get what you're saying.
Kind of a weird, like their prize is not important to me. Like, the prize, like, what they're trying to steal or what all the fuss and the traitors and everything is not super important to me. Mm-hmm. It's more, this movie is, the characters are all very well written and developed to the point that I forget what they're doing or what the fuss is about, which has always been a small point of contention for me. But that could be me. I'm not saying that's everybody. That could be just me.
I personally think that it's you, but I would think that could also be a point of contention for a larger fan base, because without the backstory of, like, the Republic has now become the Empire. The Empire has then had socialism type arrangements gone throughout the galaxy where they're taking up all the fuel because they need it for their starfighters. They need it for their super star destroyers. They need it for everything, right? There's a lack of this in the universe because of the Empire. And there's not a precedence, once again. Just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's rare, right? Like, obviously, with rarity comes expense. That's basic supply and demand. But you could also have something that's not rare, but you add a skilled technician onto it or a craftsman to turn it into something else, and now it's rare. See what I'm saying? There's always something. Just because it's not in abundance doesn't mean that it's not rare. They did a good job of explaining that coaxium is very valuable, but never at one point in the movie did they say, oh, coaxium is, like, extremely limited, so we just don't have it. It's just, it's refined hyperfuel, and that, yes, that's the point of the story, but really the point of the story is kind of the focus on Solo. So you're kind of torn between these two. Yeah, you're kind of torn between these two. Dude, the characters, I loved Beckett. I loved the name drops. We had a Bosk name drop. We had a Aurora Singh name drop.
We had the freaking reappearance of Ray Parks as Darth Maul at the end, which, like, was not expecting. And blew my pants off. Like, what? I can't believe, like, we got Darth Maul back?
Yes.
Like,
this
immediately made me want a Solo 2 just from that scene alone.
And we get an explanation of the oh my god.
Clone Wars
no,
Season 7?
I'm totally blanking. The Kessel Run. We get an explanation of what the Kessel Run is.
Yeah.
Because that's been a contention with Star Wars fans forever. Like, is it a measure of time or distance?
It's a unit of distance, not a measure of time. How does it matter if we did it? And
yeah, it was a measurement because it was a planned route, and he was able to do it in less, right? And this is funny because he still lies about it. He does the Kessel Run in 14, but in this movie, he rounds down and he tells Chewie, we'll call it 12. So then when he tells Obi-Wan and Luke in A New Hope that this is the ship that did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, he's still lying perpetually to this day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
he's still doing that story.
He's still doing the story where everything's a little bit of an exaggeration. This movie is a solid B for me. I absolutely love this movie. I can't put it as an A tier because it just doesn't touch... It doesn't have the samurai aspect, and I feel weird about putting it with other movies that have that samurai aspect. Even Donnie Yen...
Star Wars isn't known so much for it.
Exactly. So I gotta go B. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I would go B.
All right, B.
I feel like we're giving everything A's and B's, but I would go...
So let's have a recap of where we're at. S tier, Mandalorian, Empire Strikes Back. A tier, we have A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, The Force Awakens, and Rogue One. B tier, we have The Phantom Menace, we have Solo, A Star Wars Story. C tier, we have Attack of the Clones, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. And D tier, once again, D tier is only, not that we hate it, it's only due to rewatchability, replayability, whatever you want to call it, Resistance. What we have left on the table is the animated series.
Definitely more split.
Yeah, definitely more split. We've got a good pack. Definitely A tier is the highest stacked pack right now, which is fine, right? Like that's good. If most of what we have is good, that's good, right? It's better to have a lot of good than a lot of bad. Let's go into the animated series. Now, this list has Clone Wars split up into two sections. We have Clone Wars seasons 1 through 6. And then we have Clone Wars Season 7. Let's just go straight for Clone Wars Season 7. I personally...
Immediately.
I would agree, but this is where I disagree. I don't understand why this list separates the two. I mean, I get why, because it took a break and then it came back. But they're the same show. If you were to jump straight into Clone Wars Season 7... in my opinion, most casual Star Wars fans would not understand what's going on. For that reason, I would have to give Clone Wars Season 7 an A tier, and because there is so much filler in Clone Wars Seasons 1 through 6, I would have to give Clone Wars a B tier. However, I am open to an argument if you have something to tell me, because you already said that Clone Wars Season 7 is S.
I agree. Clone Wars Seasons 1 through 6... my biggest point of contention and pet peeve about that show is the timeline that the show tells its story in is nonsense.
Yes.
It jumps all over the place. I think that was a very poor choice. Character development wise, though, it's amazing.
Yes.
I would agree. I think Clone Wars would be a B across the board.
Okay.
For me.
I agree. So I'm going to move that right now. So we have Clone Wars Seasons 1 through 6 at a B tier. And that's right next to Phantom Menace and Solo. Now, let's talk about Season 7 of Clone Wars, and the argument is between A and S.
So, PC, but then there's the whole Martez arc that I just literally put out of my mind.
See?
I put that out of my mind.
Saying? Yeah. See what I'm saying?
If you removed the Martez sisters arc, the season 7 of Clone Wars, the finish would be an S.
But because it's in there.
Because it's in there, that was a waste of what was it, 3 or 4 episodes?
4 episodes.
4 episodes. Yeah, it was
and once again
pointless.
I'm not, nor, and I already know that you're not. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I know that this is how you feel. We're not taking away from anybody that enjoys the Martez sister arc. I know that when Martez sisters first came out, there was a lot of heat that was coming out on Twitter and social media as a whole, as things do with Star Wars, and people were saying this is pointless, this is stupid, and then there was another group of people who really identified with the Martez sisters. You know, women were already cosplaying as them, like those characters spoke to them. In no way are we trying to take away from it. I think that the Martez sisters, because I've actually rewatched this in recent past couple of months, it's really a story character building arc for Ahsoka, obviously, because she's the main focal point of season 7.
Trying to remind you or teach you where her conscience sits
exactly.
At,
exactly. Yeah, and it's good. It's just, dude, the Martez sisters are so cringy. They're like Attack of the Clones C-level cringy. Like, the younger Martez sister is so dumb. It hurts my soul. When she, like, releases the spice and, like, screws everybody, I'm just like, oh, okay. It's like a 7-year-old, like, only having a bite of ice cream, so they, like, throw the whole pint away. Like, come on.
A lot of it was pretty bad
but
for me.
Ahsoka versus Maul in season 7.
Oh yeah, and the whole
the Mando storyline, the clones,
the Mando storylines, the clones, and their surprise out of nowhere, like having their armor painted as Ahsoka.
Yes.
Anakin reworking her sabers.
Yes,
and she has new sabers that we had never seen to that point.
Yes. And there's
like, there's so much good.
Yeah, the emotion from Rex that's given when a cartoon chokes you up, you know that it's good, and it choked me up.
Yeah, and at that point, we had only ever seen one execute Order 66.
Yes,
in Revenge of the Jedi.
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Jedi. That's what originally Return of the Jedi
used to be. Revenge of the Jedi. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Revenge of the Sith. Like, this was our first, like, second, like, it's like one of the things that everybody kind of, like, fantasizes or wonders about, like, what happened everywhere when the Execute Order 66 order came through.
Yeah.
And we got to see it, like, in one of the best ways possible. And you got to see clones fighting against it, which was amazing.
Yes.
Because so many people are like, how can they just, like, shut off? And they all couldn't. Like, some were resisting.
And we get the explanation of where Rex was during Order 66. We get the whole battalion, the whole legion of the 501st being split in half going with Anakin, half being sent with Ahsoka, Rex being promoted to commander. It had always been Captain Rex at that point, yet he's been promoted to commander, which... I want to know who the commander was before, because we had Commander Cody, we had Commander Gree, we had Commander Bly, like we had all of these other commanders.
Ahsoka.
Oh, duh. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
My gosh, how did I... Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah. Wow, I can't believe I just blanked on that. And he promoted Rex to... Well, see, she was gone. He should have been promoted. Anyway, we're splitting hairs.
Yeah.
It's peak Star Wars. Absolutely loved it. Our last final ranking. Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels.
This is another one that if you split up, it could be rated differently.
I think that even with the inclusion of season 1, I have a ranking for this. Now remember, our ranking is based on 3 things: character development, visual storytelling, rewatchability. For me, Star Wars Rebels is S tier.
Thinking. I can see S 100%, and I can see A. I'm going to lean towards S just because the second half of that show just takes off.
Yes.
On a positive trend and just gets so amazing and so good and builds and has so much storytelling and character development.
Star Wars Rebels has the most character development in all of Star Wars. Point 1. Point 2. We have the original introduction of the Ralph McQuarrie lightsabers, where we have the really thin lightsabers. It is hearkening literally to the most original idea of Lucas going to somebody and saying, hey, this is my idea. Kurakara Samurai, Space Cowboy, give me something. Original art, right? we learn to love these characters. We have a young, Force-sensitive person who's taken over taken under the wing of Kanan Jarrus, who's a survivor.
Our first time ever seeing a survivor from Order 66 that wasn't Luke or Leia.
Exactly.
Or like Obi.
Or Obi, or Yoda, a survivor of 66.
An unknown,
takes him under his wing, becomes not only the mentor, but the father figure. The thing that if Qui-Gon Jinn would have lived, would have no doubtedly become. Right? That's Kanan Jarrus, the father figure. He is his father, his best friend to Ezra Bridger. We have the comic relief. We have the amazing robot. We have Chopper. We have Hera. Hera Syndulla herself is a powerful female character who takes charge, leads this entire Ghost Squadron, right? Who is one of the first rebel factions.
And the creation of the rebels.
Literally the creation of the rebels. If not for Hera and Ghost Squadron, where would we be? Hera Syndulla is mentioned over the intercom in Rogue One. General Syndulla, report to whatever, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I don't remember the exact quote. Kanan.
We get other characters that were in movies. We get oh my gosh, what's his name from Rogue One?
Saul Gerrera.
Saul Gerrera.
Dude, there's so much. There's so much. Well, there's so much.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with an S. 100%.
It's S tier.
One of the best endings of a series ever.
We have the introduction of Thrawn, who is top 3 Star Wars villains. If you were to ask me who my top 3 Star Wars villains are, Palpatine, Vader, Thrawn. Not necessarily in that order, but Thrawn is up there.
Yeah.
From the early 90s, with Timothy Zahn, Thrawn has been wreaking havoc on the Star Wars universe in non-canon and now, once again, in canon. A tactical genius from a species that is so smart and so in-depth with the Force that most of their children are born Force-sensitive, and then, because they're not trained, they lose their Force sensitivity.
Dissipate.
As Luke said in Mandalorian, skill without training means nothing. Right? The Chiz themselves is such an unexplained part of Star Wars that has always been in used to be canon, then non-canon, and now once again part in canon, that it can't be ignored. And that sense of exploration of, like, what is the Chiz, who is Thrawn, like, that's Star Wars, right? Like, that's just an integral part 100%. Of Star Wars. Ezra Bridger touching on the dark side, getting a dark side holocron, using the dark side of the Force to amplify his power, giving into his anger. A play on Anakin.
Getting to see Fulcrum, Ahsoka as Fulcrum.
Getting to see the reunion of Vader and Ahsoka. Getting one of what is now top 5 most iconic lines in Star Wars, "I am no Jedi," from Ahsoka.
Darth Maul screaming, well, I guess he's not Darth Maul at that point, but Maul on Tatooine screaming Kenobi.
Dude, Sam Witwer.
His death.
Yes. Dude, I've said this so many times.
I guess we should have given a spoiler warning.
You need to watch Rebels. Rebels is everything that is embodied Star Wars. It's Dave Filoni. And then with Mandalorian, we have Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. If you liked The Mandalorian, let me assure you, you will like Rebels.
Oh, yeah.
It is
especially,
so good.
I mean, if you start at season 1, just realize season 1 it was a little more kiddie.
Yes.
And it was getting its legs underneath it.
Yes.
And it takes off. Don't get discouraged if you feel like it's a little simple by starting at episode 1, season 1. Just it progressively gets better and better and better.
I think a thing that hinders the simplicity of Rebels is the fact that it is a cartoon. I think that if you make every single Rebels episode a live action series, you don't have those same feelings. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that definitely adds to it. Sure.
It definitely adds to it. So if you can get past the cartoon aspect of it, emotionally, for me, the show just opens up just doors that there are other parts of Star Wars that just don't touch that median. I mean, yeah, you want to be entertained at the end of the day, but like storytellers want to reach you as a person and you want to identify with some of those characters. We've all been Ezra at points. We've all been Hera at points. We've all been Kanan at points where we've had to make great sacrifice. We've always been Zeb at one point where we feel like we don't belong and all of your people are gone. Like, that hit on like every single piece of main storytelling, in my opinion, that is just storytelling over time.
Yep. No, 100%.
So let's go S tier. Let's go over our list. Starting at S tier, we have Mandalorian, Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Rebels, the animated series. A tier, Star Wars, aka Star Wars A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, The Force Awakens, Star Wars Story, Rogue One, Clone Wars Season 7, animated series. Going on to B tier, we have A Phantom Menace, Star Wars Story, Solo, The Clone Wars animated series, Seasons 1 through 6. We have our C tier, which is Attack of the Clones, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, and D, we have our Star Wars Resistance animated series. I'm very happy with our list.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair list.
Yeah. I'm like beside myself right now. This was so much fun.
It was.
This was a lot of fun. It makes me realize like how much more I want to dive into and literally how much time we don't have. Because like I'm like getting emotional talking about this because like especially like Rebels, like, you know, we've told numerous people like to watch it. We've had a couple of people that have watched it based on our suggestions and they've come back and they've been like, oh my God, you know, it was so amazing. Travis Butler, he's the most recent, you know, he's currently watching it. He's almost done. And man, Star Wars is just special to us. You know, once again, this list is not meant to take away from anybody. This is still something that we love. Literally, we have a podcast about it. So, like, obviously, we love it. You know, this is just how we feel. At the end of the day, things have to have a place. And I think this is me and Justin's place. We really didn't agree on anything. And if we did agree, I love how nothing that we disagreed on was like, nothing skipped a step. It was always one down or one up.
Yeah.
You know, it was really close. And once again, I think that pretty much everything between A and B could probably be interchangeable. Like if you said that Phantom Menace was A tier for you, I could see an argument for that. If you thought that Rogue One was only a B tier for you, I could see an argument for that. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that all that stuff, and that's the point of this, right? It's a conversation. It's really good.
Yeah. No, I think that most of them they have enough positives and minuses that you could argue for one way or the other. I think that where everything landed is pretty middle ground and fair. Yeah. I think that there's no unnecessary hate or blind love for any of our rankings.
Justin, thank you for coming back to your own podcast with me.
I'm super glad to.
Did you have fun?
I'm super glad to be doing something fun and not sitting on a couch.
Guys, don't forget, next week is the first part to 2 parts of our introduction to 3D printing. What you need to know. Special guest Benjamin is going to be with us, approved member of the 501st. We'll be talking about 3D printing, what you need to know about 3D printing, and what to look for when buying your first 3D printer. I was your boy, it's KonKon, and joining me virtually.
Hey, everybody give me TV shows and movies to watch because I'm bored.
Yes, he is. Thank you for joining us this week at KonKon's Cantina. We'll see you next time.